Hey guys, how y'all doing? My name is Kieran, and this is Fox Off RPG. So today we're going to be having a look at a few books that came in the mail over the last few days, and one of them that came a little while ago. Now this is actually my second time recording this. My first recording of this, well, let's put it this way. For some reason, halfway through the video, it stopped recording, and I did not realize this until like a day later, or 2 days later, wherever it was, and I was about to edit it and put it up online. And I was like, oh, it's half gone. Well, that's great, guys. So yeah, well, in the meantime, one other thing came, so there we go. We're going to have a look at this as well. It's going to be a quick look. I just took it out of wrapping. But yeah, so before we get into this, the next few days I will be doing a review on Dracula in Space. I played this there the other day as a player, and it was amazing. This is kind of designed as a con game, but you can play it as part of your campaign as well. There's a lot of stuff in here on how to do that, and like a hex location where it shows up and all that. But again, this is something we will be reviewing in the next couple of days, so that's gonna be cool. They'll probably be up on by between Thursday and Saturday. I'm going to have a few recordings up and all by then. But what this video is mostly going to be about, you guys will see, is we had the Devoured Labyrinth. This came here actually 2 days ago. So I'll be having a look at this. This is the physical copy. I had a PDF for a while, but I haven't actually looked at the PDF. I much rather have the physical copies of things before I look at them. If they're only available in PDF, then obviously you're going to look at them. But I also like doing these type of videos. I also have the Crawling Deep. This is a chunky. This is for Shadowdark as well. Devoured Labyrinth for Shadowdark. But again, this is a great book, I think. I think this is going to be in my must-haves collection for sure. Along with some Chubby Funster stuff. This just adds more cool stuff, ideas. We'll go have a quick flip through some of this, and we talk about some of the ideas, but I will have a review up hopefully this week or next week. It might be next week just because just the amount of stuff that I would have had. I had a few recordings go wrong with me last week, which was a pain in the ass. And then we have Riftbreakers. Again, we're going to be flipping through this, talk about some of the stuff that's in it, some of the ideas. This is another brilliant game by ACKS of Black Oat Entertainment. One of my favorite creators, as usual. You can play this completely solo. You can play this one-on-one with a GM or as a group. It is very versatile. It's brilliant. I've been reading it for the PDS for the last little while, and it's so much fun. So, what I think we'll do first is, I think we'll talk about Riftbreakers. Have a flip through, talk about it a little bit. Over the next coming few weeks or months, I'll have a review out of this properly. Again, this is going to be going through some of the basic ideas and what this is. Now, this is printed demand copy. This is the premium version I got, so everything's just a little crisper. I do like drive-through print and demand stuff. Other people don't. Again, I think it's a regional issue. I live in Ireland, like I said before, as you guys know. I get my stuff from the UK, and I think the European printers are much better than Americans from what I've seen. I can tell. But yeah, let's just have a quick look here. Like, you can even see it here. It all turns over better. The pages turn better than I've seen on some other places. But yeah, here's some of the cool art. So the whole idea behind this game is you're going to play as a character or a group of characters, whatever the case might be, and you will have to go through these rifts. These rifts are going to open up and break out, and you need to go explore them, find out what's going on. This is the gameplay loop. You go in, you explore, like you basically do dungeon delving in through a rift. These areas could be anything from an actual dungeon, another plane of existence, pretty much anything you might think of. There's going to stuff in here to help you out, all that stuff, that side of things. But it's really cool. I really like it. Now, how you level up, it involves two main things. One of them is going to be your hearts. So here we have Arcane Heart. We have Arrow Heart. We then have Bastion Heart, Flame Heart. So you can get what I'm saying here. The heart, that heart. So these hearts are essentially going to be your powers. Now, you will gain more hearts to then customize as you go along in the game. You're then going to pick and choose which spells or skills or abilities you're going to have. They're all going to have a cost. You're going to have a certain amount of points to spend and use, and that's how you develop your character. They don't have a class. The class is everything. You're non-class. You're classless. But of course, you can specialize. You can, if you have the arrow heart, okay, and you want some death heart stuff. You want to get deep in the arrow stuff, but you have the death heart. Okay. Well, first you need to find the arrow heart in the world. So that's going to be one of the things you can find is find it. Then you're able to have it on yourself and use it. But other way you're going to level up is essentially by using equipment. Now this is a D100 game, which is going to make the game flow super fast, simple. It's going to be lots of fun. D100s are very simple at the heart of it. Heart. Yeah, I know, terrible. But they're very fun. They're very, like I said, they're simple. They're straightforward. You know, most of these are going to be roll under anyway. So you know, if you have a 70 and something, you're going to roll it. If you get under 70, success. You know, simple. And since there's so many different points between like the 10s, you know, you've 11, 12, you've 34, you know, all the way up to 100. I think it makes throwing the dice a little more exhilarating. I know it kind of sounds weird to say exhilarating, but you know, it feels like there's more of a chance of something to go wrong when there isn't necessarily, but it just feels like it, at least to me. So when you're going to be getting gear, you're going to find gear in the world. You also can craft gear. And this gear is essentially what's going to be the real thing that's going to level your character up. So you find, say you found a leather jerkin or something like that. Okay, maybe it's just a +1. Then you find some studded leather is a +2, and all to your armor. It's then going to have a minor ability onto it. Okay, well now you've just become more powerful. And the idea is each time you go into these rifts, you're going to get more gear, potential to get more hearts, and then customize. Well, let's say, like you said, you want to get more into the archer heart sort of stuff. You find this load of equipment, but you don't yet have the archer heart itself. But you're going to save all that equipment. So then when you do find it, you can equip, okay, I found this cool bow, I'm going to equip this bow. Okay, I have this brace here, I'm going to use that. You know, and that's how that goes. Again, it's very simple. Character creation is cool. You can do the roll up here. Because essentially your character doesn't actually influence anything, really. It's just more for fun aspects and your own like ability. You could be an elf, a dwarf, weird cat lady thingy, a saurian. For the most part, they're not really going to do anything. Like if you have here how it has gills or fins, well, you could say then, yeah, well, my character can swim in water or can hold her breath for longer or something like that. But realistically, there isn't really much to it. If you want, you can also say you're a bunch of dwarfs. You know, you're a bunch of grey aliens from Mars or whatever. Basically, you can say what you want, or you can just use a quick roll-up thing to get an idea, which I think is really cool. To find how many points you have, I think it's 3d6. Oh no, you have the ability pool of your 20. You have 10 ether when you're starting now, and then you roll 2d6 plus 15 for your health. You're going to have no luck, and then you're going to be your name. Then you have a bunch of basic equipment you're going to have. And yeah, that's kind of it. You're going to start off with basic clothing. One weapon of your choice. If it's a ranged weapon, you also obtain a quiver with 8 arrows or bolts. You're also going to have 2 minor healing potions. But yeah, it's pretty much it. And yeah, you're going to go out in the world. It gives you some ideas on how things are going to level up, what things are, some of the heart essence here. You spend these, unlock extra hearts and stuff like that. But yeah, that's basically how the game works. Your gameplay loop is you create your character, obviously. You know, that's what you have to do, or else you can't play. You create your character, or someone gives you a character if you're playing in a group, or they're playing a GM and one person. Whatever the case is, that's what you're going to do. You will then go out into the world, look for a rift, go into the rift and explore, gain gear, defeat monsters, potentially find other things that you use to craft other gear, find other hearts, and then you can spend points to then unlock the hearts and then equip them, whatever the case might be, you know. Here is some interesting stuff, is the achievements. So, you're going to gain achievements in the game from doing things. So, because here's one: Battlefield Dominator, knock 20 enemies prone with your abilities. Reward: you can no longer really knock prone. So I'm going to think of these as achievements like in a video game. You do something in the game, you're going to gain a benefit, a trophy. And in this case, your trophy over here for Backstabber, 20 critical hits from stealth, i.e. concealed or surprised. Reward: gain +1 to damage when dealing critical strikes from stealth. And they're all going to have a theme. You have the arcane theme, you have the slaughter theme, you have the path of the shadows, the path of the explorer, the path of the diplomat. And then it talks about character progression, how that's going to work, the core rules and your modifiers that you're going to add in to make things easier or harder. Trials play, basically super easy, it's going to be +30, and up to -30 for basically impossible. Again, very simple. Obviously, you're going to have a bunch of skills and abilities as well. This is going to affect, obviously, how your cards are going to be different with each other. You have your combat zones, you have zone 1, 2, 3, and 4, and it gives you an example of like what these mean. Again, I do like these zones. I think the zone stuff is much more... Zones and range, they're much more intuitive for players, especially solo players, because if you just roll a dice and you say, okay, we're this far away, it's easier just to not have to keep track of exact distances, especially when you're soloing. But even if you just want quick, snappy gameplay, it does help a lot. You get companions in the world, how you do companion stats, stuff like that. I'm going to skip through a couple more pages here, a good few, and that was like perfect. Gathering and crafting for finding ingredients. One cannot craft or cook without the required ingredients. I did not know that, guys. I'm only messing, of course. But fortunately, there are several possible ways to obtain them. The most reliable source of ingredients are monsters. When you defeat a monster, you can harvest them for parts you can use in different ways. The other are a bit less reliable. A reliable way of finding ingredients, it is to go out and search for them. Well, this is not possible for ingredients that have purely monster origins, such as different monster part. It is the best way of sourcing both metals and herbs. In order to do so, you require the gathering skill. The procedure is simple. Once per hex, you can search for an ore or vein, alchemy ingredients, example plants, mushrooms, insects, etc. This can be checked for after you've done day's travel check. As described, it gives you the page 111. To do so, simply roll a d100, and if the result is equal to or less than your number on your table, so if you had a 60 in your gathering skill, if you roll a 60 or less, you succeed. Only one check per hex can be done, but you can check for both mineral deposits and alchemical ingredients. So you can only check a hex once. But when you're checking it, you're not just checking for one thing, you're checking for everything. So, you're checking for metals, you're checking for herbs, and all that other stuff. And it has your region checks for percentages, which is pretty cool. Now, it does give you some really interesting stuff. Cooking a meal. This stuff is fun to me, gear and loo. But when you're in areas, it's going to give you tables on possible events and stuff that can happen. Let's see if we can find it. It might be a bit further back. I can't remember. I think it's back. This is basically the bestiary, or bestiary, however you want to call it. I remember when Alex was doing this, I think he was talking about 30 or 40 creatures at first. But I believe there's about 90 or 95 in here. So there's quite a good amount. So I think I was talking about is a little further back. Exploring, yes, here we go. So exploring cart, I believe that it is the city sort of quest area, a city area. You're going to start off in, or it's like going to be your sort of hub, I believe. So yeah, I think this is your hub. But anyway, you're going to have the different areas. You're going to have the Arcane Mist Forest. You have noteworthy encounters from the Bonespire Peaks. Interesting finds in the Bonespire Peaks. Continued here. Encounter combats. And they're going to have this for different regions in the game. But if you also want to create your own, you could and use these as inspiration in different areas. And again, some areas are going to have higher or lower amounts of materials. This is cool. This is going to help you. This is going to help with procedure, especially when you're playing solo. It helps with closing the rifts, stuff like that. But yeah, I really am so happy with this physical book. I think it came out absolutely brilliant, guys. The quality, and this is the premium version I got in print on demand. Like I said, the paper's great. It feels a little heavier, but I think I've noticed on drive through, at least where my stuff's getting made, all the paper seems to have increased the quality at the last year or two. And I had no problems with before personally. The hardbacks are great looking. They feel good. They're well made. And I feel like, especially when you get on the bigger hardback stuff, like they're opening up better. Like they have the sort of wiggle room there you see with some other books. But I think the construction is a little better made. I'm not a book guy. I don't really know all the ins and outs of stuff. It's what I feel and think. Again, I'm not 100% sure. It's just what I'm getting. So I could be talking at my backside, guys. So don't mind me. But we're talking a little bit about the Devoured Labyrinth. Now, I haven't gone into... I've literally only unboxed this. I took the file off before I started recording and did a quick flip through. So I don't really know too much about this. Again, I've had the PDFs for a while. I don't really... If I have something physical come along and it's going to be a while away, I might look at the PDF a few times. But I'd much rather have the physical copy of things. It's just better for me. I actually absorbed information much more. I know when I was talking to a few people on Alex's Blackout Games Discord and my buddy Matthew's Discord, I was talking about how I just absorb information better through sort of physical books and stuff like that. When I got this, I also got this sort of map thing. I love how it just pulled down the bloody camera a little bit. I might have to open it up again. Pull it back up. But yeah, you're going to get this. I don't know if this is going to be in every copy, but my one, since I did back this on Kickstarter, it did have this map. Now this would be the more player-facing side. I will say it's on some good card, but there is almost some tearing here already, and I only took this out. So that's not great. But it looks pretty. It's well made. And then when you flip it over on the other side, you can see the different locations for all the places that are in the book, which is interesting. Now, these are all 6 mile hexes, so this is a pretty large area. So you can do a lot of exploring, going around the place. You can add some extra locations for yourself, like cities and stuff like that, small villages and towns, or that can be off to one side, and you're going to explore, going around. This would make for a very heavily, heavy dungeon filled and adventure filled map if you were to use this in as a campaign setting or for a location within your campaign to go. That would be the way I would do it. I would have this as a possible location where there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of rumors and so forth. Now here, these are tokens. They're just on cards, so you can't pop them out. You're going to have to cut them out. But I think they look nice. And it's basically the same ones that come up here, as you can see on this side, on the GM facing side. But you can have the player facing side. So the idea would be you cut these out. Of course, if you get the PDF, when you get this, you should be getting the PDFs. At least, again, I back that Kickstarter, I have the PDFs as well, and you will have a copy of this. Print them out on a piece of paper. If you want, stick it to some cut off cardboard, and then you have some nice thick tokens. And here's some more. And I do like this idea here. Have these sort of things here, which if you have these at home, you can print them off your computer or whatever, off your printer, and you make your own tokens, or you can put these in and put through photo editing software and make your own tokens from it, which would be really cool. That's something I will try looking in the future for myself. Now the book itself is well made for sure. I'm not sure if this is how they got this print on demand and then shipped it, or if it was like stitched or whatever. I'm not sure. I think it's stitched. It looks stitched. It looks like there's some other material on there. Plus, the foil, which looks really cool. This is foil of some sort. The art in here is awesome. It looks great. Like I said, when I flipped through this before, it looks well. I do have some criticisms of it from the get-go. I'm not gonna lie, guys. If I like something, I say I like it. Basically, when I show stuff off, this is usually stuff I liked, or I was excited to get. This is something I was excited to get. I looked at it a little bit, and I know some people who reviewed it and they thought it was great. Having a drink there. But yeah, this is basically going to be my first impressions. I'm not going to go through every single aspect of the book, of course, because that might be a bit much, and it's not review. This is just overviews and looking at what things are. It's going to give a bit of a background, how this book came to be. Before diving into the details of the book, we want to share how this book came about. Sometime in early 2024, about a year before we started this book, Zach invited several of our creative friends to play in a very unique campaign. So from what I understand, he proposed to run the entirety of Moria Mega Dungeon detailed by Free League's Moria Shadow of Khazad-dûm, but using the Shadowdark system. Now, this is a bunch of dungeons and adventures and stuff like that from a bunch of creators. I'm not sure if they're all listed here from the get-go. Writing and design time. So I think these are all different people who are involved in this. It talks about what is the Devoured Labyrinth. It's basically a bunch of standalone mini dungeons which take up between 1 and 2 pages of the actual dungeon themselves. Then you have your map here, and it talks about what's the history of the place, what's the Devoured Labyrinth, how the first one that you're going to visit, it's Gauntlet. Then you have a 1 to 2, a 3 to 5, 4 to 7, 6 to 9, 8 to 10. And this is sort of Gauntlet level. And I have to say, my main criticism about parts of this book is the maps. Now, there is a lot of information here, and it gives you just enough that you're going to get by. If you want, you can then expand upon the details of what things are. Like, let's look at here. A natural stone, shelves dotted with ancient holy relics, a cloaked entity moving slowly among them. That's basically your room description, which I think that's a nice, concise, well put together room description. But again, the map sizes is the problem for me. Now, this book is not huge. It's 121. That's 122, 123 pages. 123, 124 pages. And you see the maps are quite small. These are all gridded as well, so I'll bring it up and now you can see it. Now, if you're just reading from the PDF, zoom in all day, no problem. I think when you do get the PDFs as well, I think the map files are separate. But if you're just running this from a book, if you're a person who's bad eyesight, or you need to bring things closer to your face like this, say, oh yeah, I can see the hexes and stuff like that, and maybe you want to draw it out for your players as you go along, or you're trying to describe things. If you're doing the more old-fashioned style, like, okay, you're going to walk into this dungeon, you're going to head north, 30 feet in front of you, you're going to see 30, 40 feet in front of you, around 50 feet there's a left turn, going, that sort of stuff. You're doing that sort of like collar sort of thing. That might be a bit of a pain in the ass, to be honest. When I was looking at this before, like, the actual descriptions is nice. The creatures and stuff that are in here are good. Like, you're going to have some references to the core book. You're going to have the core book out with you for sure. I think some of the zines, the Cursed Skulls, I think 1, 2, 3, are referenced. So you'll have to have that. So yeah, but it gives you the page locations for where things are when you need them, so that's fine. But you see what I mean about, like, this is a map here. This isn't just a piece of art. This is part of a map, and like, it's like my thumbnail. My thumbnail is bigger, and that's my problem. Like, this is a small tower, or fine. That's cool. But over here is much worse, because I don't know if you can see that. So there's 1, 2, 3, that's like 2.5 squares, that corner there. That's quite small. And that's the thing that I'm kind of disappointed about, is the maps. What I was reading this before I got on, it sounded like, this map is perfect. That might even be a bit too big. But there, perfect size. You're getting 12 rooms. It's taking up a little under than half, because you could push that down a little bit. But yeah, I think it would have been better to have a map like this here, and then have the extra pages going on. Maybe there was a cost issue that when they had things doing, they needed to shrink things down because it would have added in too many pages. Maybe, but still, you know what I mean. These maps here are fine. That's fine. Not great at all in terms of the size. But I do like the concept. The concept here is freaking cool. So you have a bunch of individual creators come together, putting a bunch of mini maps, or well, not really mini. Some of these are quite good size and they're continuing on for a few pages. But they all come together, create this adventure path module sort of thing coming on. And of course, this, like I said, use the big map, whatever, for your players, cut out the tokens or print them off, whatever case might be. And then you're going to go through an adventure. Maybe you want to have it so you have a town or city further away, and this area is overrun with all these problems. Like, it does give you more history at the start of this. So, again, this is not a review by any means, guys. This is just me essentially dicking around, looking at this. But I will be reviewing this, and I think by looking at what I've looked at before, and the people I know that have actually played this properly, they liked it. And we tend to like most of the same stuff when it comes to the old school type gaming. Now, I've got more into the real old school type gaming. And it's like Dragon in Space, like, check out, like, that's freaking amazing. Now we have the Crawling Deep. Now, this is something I will be reviewing. This might be up this week or next week. Like I said, I done a video there the other day. I'm constantly checking to make sure my thing is still recording. I'm paranoid about that now because, like I said, I done like a 40-minute video last week, and I went to edit it and put it up, and like half of it was gone. Like 22 minutes of it was gone. It was just stopped. I don't know why. But this is the Crawling Deep. This is freaking awesome, guys. Again, I will be doing a full in-depth review of this. There's stuff in here, anything from extra rules, modifications, optional rules, bunch of monsters and creatures, and the way it's done in this is freaking awesome. And I say it was a pain in the ass to organize it, because they have things. Let's talk about the creatures, for example. Okay, you're gonna have a section all undead. You're gonna have a section all sci-fi, and the sci-fi stuff is cool. I like that. You have a section of like bunch of different knights and stuff like that, and there's a lot. This is a chunker, big chunky boy. This is 500 pages, guys. 500 pages. The last one is actually, it might be more than that. Oh, that's appendix. So yeah, it's like literally 500 pages. I think it technically comes out to be like 504 with one or two out of blank. So what is the Crawling Deep? Crawling Deep is a massive compendium of bizarre and dangerous, wonderful content to expand your Shadowdark game. Use this content to create the game you want to play. But a word of caution from an old crawler: do not use everything in this book at once. Common sense. Deploy what you need and when you need it. Avoid burning your players. In the Shadowdark crawler's risk of life, a limb for adventure. Excuse me. Those that await adventure, those that survive will do it by their wits' end and look and live to tell a tale of glory and wonder and doom. So I think there's about 10 to 12 classes in here. You have a barbarian, you have the beast, you have the chief or the chef, you have a cultist, which is pretty cool. He kind of has this super long-eared, sort of like the Japanese elf look to it, and he has it's like if you took a Japanese elf and put him in an Asgardian outfit. Pretty cool. I think he's supposed to be more like you said, the Cthulhu sort of looking thing in there. You have the cultist spells. You have the hero. You have the king, the scholar, the sorcerer. Now, I have to say this: I'll get people every now and then said, "Oh, I don't like Shadowdark because blah 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 blah." I'm like, okay, then don't. Why are you on the video, or why are you shitting on it? I've heard people say, "Well, I don't like Shadowdark, but I like BX." I look at them, I'm like, then you don't like BX, or you're just shitting on Shadowdark for the sake of it. Because, it's not that different. Well, why don't you play BX? Well, I could just turn to you and say, why don't you just play basic, forget the expert? Why don't you just play OD&D? If that's how you're going to be, you just keep saying, well, why don't you just do this instead? Well, don't be a dick. And as well, all this sort of content, it can be easily converted to any other system you want. And I think the Merc is a really cool idea. Merc is basically a fighter. But say this is meant for your player who is not there all the time. Maybe they can only do a game once a month and you play every other week or every week even. You're going to give him the Merc. He's going to have the same hit points and all that. He's going to have a starting weapon. Your starting weapon is going to have a special name. It deals an extra dice of damage. So basically, if your guy is showing up, make sure he shows up when you're fighting bosses. Bunch of new cool backgrounds. This can be used for gauntlet creation and 0 level stuff, but also this can be used to inform what other characters backgrounds you're going to have, and there's lots of them in here, and I think it's great. More background stuff, extra weapons you're going to have, starting stuff you're going to have, motivations, roleplay prompts, habits. Pretty cool. I like this sort of stuff. This is also great for NPCs, so this allows you to create some awesome guys from the get-go without you having to build your own backstory, because you might die straight away. Hirelings. I like the hireling things in here. You're going to have your basic common hireling, your uncommon, and your rare hirelings. And it gives you a DC check to see if an area has one. And if it is, say if you roll 16, well, you're going to have an uncommon hireling. It costs 10 gold per week. Counts as 2 normal hirelings for commanding. Basically 2 common hirelings. They're going to be an armsman, carries a crossbow and 20 bolts, has trained bolt action. So he's going to get extra bonuses. Has his own rations. A bolt action is 1 round. When the leader hits a combat, it deals 1d6 of damage. He's a burglar. So he has the trait Knave, needs to be fed. Knave. Oh, here's his stats. Sorry. It's Knave. He's lockpicks and thievery. And then you have your rare hirelings, which is going to be a spear carrier, has leather armor, has his own rations. Handles his own rations. His AC of 12 plus 4 hit points and spear backup trait. Spear backup, it tells you what it is. I think this is pretty cool. And of course, you can say, I don't want him to have a spear, I want him to have this or that instead. That's completely fine. At least I would roll that. So it has some skirmish stuff here. You're going to have basically 2 versions of skirmishing. We'll talk about that in a minute. So think of the most stripped down version of chainmail ever. You're going to have your sides are going to be split into 2 sides. So 2 armies. These could be squads. They can be groups of 20. They can just be 20 creatures. They could be 10,000 creatures, and each creature on the field accounts for 100. Doesn't matter. Roll a d6 for each creature on each side. On a 5+, they inflict a wound to the other army. Then you're going to add up your wounds, and then you're going to take away. This is the most stripped down version of chainmail ever. It's 5 or 6. Take any hits and minus any models from the board or equivalent. Mercenaries will never go into dungeons. They're basically overland and going into towns, cities, castles, all that sort of stuff, and they're tougher. So expanded skirmishing. So this is going to be more in line with what do we call it? Hell March, but still very stripped down version of it, and it's going to be very quick as well. It's going to use some basic creature strengths, the toughnesses, and all that stuff, and grand warfare, sort of give you different ranks and stuff like that. But it's definitely interesting. If you want to have something that's quick and easy, you don't want to have to learn anything new. There you go. It has a bunch of advanced rules. So when you open up the Shadowdark core book, you're going to have a bunch of extra types of modes of play. And here's just some more. A couple more here. You have beats. So beats are an interesting thing. So these, I don't think I'd use them to be honest, but you might. So a fighter beat. On adventure, you spend all your gold on earthly pleasures. A tavern brawl. A gamble in a prized item on a card. So the idea of recording will be each player has chosen and looks for opportunities to do said beats, and this is going to give people extra experience or for an opportunity to level up. I don't think I use these. It's not really my thing. But again, this is the whole point of the book. You take and use what you want. So there's extra gear and, again, ball bearings. Tiny metal balls. Creatures who step on ball bearings roll a DC 12 Dex check or fall prone. A bunch of cool stuff like that in here. Then you have the guilds and domain stuff that's coming up shortly. I think it's in the next few pages. Yeah, fighter guild weapons and stuff like that. And spells. Now, here's a bunch of new spells are in here. Because it gives you guidelines for creating spells, which I think is cool. It gives you charts for rolling things up as well. What these more spells here? So I'm looking for domain play. Here we go. Interesting. So it gives you a way of creating a domain. Maybe you want to create a little village or a small fort. And you're going to have to clear out a hex. And for every hex you clear around it, you're going to gain experience. And the amount of experience you're going to require to level up to then expand your domain is listed here. So it's actually pretty straightforward. And then you can have a bunch of... So again, you're going to have a War Master's Castle. So domain small soldiers garrison. Lieutenant gives you sharp blades. So that's basically... The second in command of this place is going to give you a bonus. Now this is going to give you an idea of how you can access how you can run these. You can come up with your own extra stuff here. You can then roll on this as well to see what other structures and buildings are in here. But I suggest creating your own as well. You have your Den's Thief. So you have your Dread Spire. So basically if you're like a sorcerer type, you have your Divine Monastery, your Priest and Clerics, your Flagship, your Docks. Some GM advice. Again, I like this sort of stuff. GM advice is always cool. Ways to do dungeons. It's just expanding things along, giving you some extra options. So again, the starting room, it gives you 6 squares long, large square, 6 squares plus 3d6, plus 1d6 plus 3 squares wide. It's going to give you more ways to create a dungeon, extra sort of advice, things you can use. Because one thing I know a lot of people do and don't like as something about Shadowdark is its dungeon creation or room creation stuff is basically find out the size of the room, roll a bunch of d20s. You write down what the d20 is, the result in the area, then you're going to make your map around that. A lot of people do like this because it allows for a bit more drawing freedom, or you can just use these to base the room sizes on to connect them up with dungeon halls or caverns any way you want. I like doing that. I think it's fine. But some people, especially new people, they don't like that. They want, okay, I need a bit more structure. And this might add a little more structure. But I really like this book overall. And I'm going to skip through a few parts here. And we got through some of the creature stuff like I was talking about. And monsters. So monsters are going to be divided into sections. So you're going to have your chaotic servants. You have your Black Knights of the Grail, Dark Terrors, Demons, Devils, Dungeon Dwellers, Dungeon Pests, Dreamlanders, Elementals, Fairies, Humans, Orderlings, Kyatrans, Old Ones, Parasites, Sci-Fi, Tanian Beasts, Undead, and Mutations as well. So, Chaos Servants, which I think is pretty cool. Mr. Toad, a chaotic wandering merchant. Dark Terrors. What's inside here? Some of these are going to be much bigger than others as well in terms of the amount of extra creatures and content for individual sections. The demon stuff is cool as well, and it gives you a way to create your own, which is awesome. Demons and Lords, Devils. See, the art in this book is cool as well. I don't know if it's all... I think it's a mixture of free stuff and custom made stuff. Because the guys who done this is... I don't want to get his name wrong. Taylor. Now, I have looked at his Oblivion thing before, and it's great. And he's created other dungeons. So that is one thing. He's a very, very good creator, in my opinion. I like him. Now, you guys also know about Shadowblight. Well, the guy who creates Shadowblight helped with this. So I think that's pretty freaking cool. They also both work at Shadowblight together, which I didn't realize. But I think that's awesome. But there's more stuff in here, guys. I'm just gonna, again, this is not reviewed. I'm just skipping through parts of it. Let's see what we can find. Oh, mutation stuff. A D1000 mutation. This can be done for creatures if you want. You can just, here's a bunch of creatures. Here's some mutations on the creatures, and here's what's going to happen. You can also add some of these to your players. They do critical fail miscasts on their spells. Maybe they get like some sort of mutated. They drink some sort of potion. It has an effect on them. It doesn't kill them, but maybe they get a mutation. You can decide what it is. You roll a D100, and if you think it's not fitting, say it's a D1000, you roll a D1000. And if you don't think it's good, then change it. You know, it's just an idea you can draw from. I really like it. You have treasure rewards, dungeon room stuff, treasure for the layers, luxury items, crawling gear you can find in a dungeon, scroll spells, which is cool, potions, weapons and armor, Shadowdark vaults, different types of vaults and the type of gear and stuff they're going to have. I also believe there is magic item creation or expansion to magic item creation. This book is going to go great with Chubby Funster's GM and Companion. I think both of them work very well together, and they just do different things and take what you want from each of them. New carousing stuff, and there's a ton of stuff in here. Tons of carousing options. Like, so cool. I like this sort of stuff. The carousing table is great, guys. And the crawling deep is a creature. Now, it's a fucking bitch. I'm not gonna lie. AC 22, 140 hit points. It has 4 attacks. Crushing limbs. It's a plus 13, 3d10 plus crush. So it's a berry titan. It cannot be restrained or paralyzed. It has regeneration 4d10 at the start of its turn. It has a bunch of other stuff here, and it has like what it's going to do in its turn order on each turn as well. Index or card stuff as well. I'm not sure. I haven't actually looked at that too much. I think it's more combat zone. Combat wagers is another thing. Again, we'll go over everything properly in an actual review in a little while. Probably within week and a half. So either this week or the end of next week should be out by now. But yeah, guys, that's really the video. Again, this is a few things that came the last few days, last week or so, really. But yeah, if you liked the video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you want to know what else, or if there is anything you'd like me to have a look at, please let me know. I will try and do so. If I have it, I'll check it out as soon as I can. And if I don't, I'll try and get it as soon as I can. But yeah, thank you guys. Again, I have my drive-through links and all that stuff. If you want to use that, want to get anything, that helps with the channel. And it doesn't cost you anything. But if not, all good. And again, thank you for watching. It's been awesome. I'll see you again soon. Thank you, and have a good one.